Introduction. Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange is a novel that has shocked, provoked, and fascinated readers since its publication in 1962. It presents a dystopian world of youth violence, moral manipulation, and social control, seen through the eyes of Alex, a charismatic yet brutal protagonist. Today we're counting down the 20 most violent facts about this provocative masterpiece. From the innovative use of language to the novel's controversial exploration of free will, each fact reveals the unsettling depth of Burgess's vision. Let's go. Fact 20. Invented language. Burgess created a unique slang called nadsat for the novel, blending Russian, English, and Cockney influences. This language immerses readers in Alex's violent youth culture, softening the shock of the acts while highlighting their normalcy to him. The linguistic invention also serves a narrative purpose. By filtering violence through nadsat, Burgess forces readers to engage with the perspective of the perpetrator, experiencing the world as Alex does. The language becomes a vehicle for unsettling empathy, making us question how cultural or linguistic frameworks shape perceptions of morality and aggression. Fact 19. Graphic imagery. Despite the playful language, the novel contains vivid depictions of assault, theft, and coercion. Burgess does not shy away from portraying the consequences of Alex's acts, creating scenes that are morally uncomfortable, yet narratively compelling. This intensity shocks readers into confronting the nature of violence. Burgess juxtaposes graphic acts with Alex's casual, almost gleeful narration. This contrast amplifies the emotional impact, illustrating how violence can be normalized within certain social contexts. Readers are forced to wrestle with the dissonance between narrative tone and action, highlighting the complexities of morality and free will. Fact 18. Psychological experimentation. Central to the novel is Alex's forced rehabilitation through the Ludovico technique. This fictional psychological procedure conditions him to feel extreme nausea at violent thoughts, effectively stripping him of free will. The procedure raises questions about the ethics of behavior modification and societal control. Burgess's depiction is deliberately disturbing. By showing the psychological and physical manipulation of a human being, the novel critiques authoritarian approaches to morality. Readers are confronted with the tension between preventing harm and preserving autonomy, emphasizing that violence is not only physical, but systemic. Fact 17. Moral ambiguity. Alex is both charming and brutal, forcing readers to confront moral ambiguity. His intelligence and wit make him engaging, yet his actions are horrifying. Burgess deliberately blurs the line between protagonist and villain, making empathy complicated. This ambiguity reinforces the novel's central theme. Violence and morality are intertwined with choice. Readers are challenged to question whether understanding a perpetrator diminishes condemnation, or if moral accountability remains independent of charm or intellect. Fact 16. Satirical violence. Much of the novel's violence carries satirical undertones, critiquing social and governmental systems. Alex's exploits parody juvenile delinquency, fears, and the sensationalism of media coverage, exaggerating reality to provoke thought rather than merely shock. Burgess's satire forces readers to examine societal complicity in creating violent cultures. By presenting violence as absurd, yet plausible, the novel explores the interplay between societal neglect, youthful rebellion, and institutional intervention, making readers question the roots of aggression. Fact 15. Free will central. The novel explores the tension between free will and imposed morality. Alex's violent nature is innate, and attempts to suppress it artificially highlight ethical dilemmas. Burgess argues that moral choice is meaningless without autonomy, even if it allows destructive behavior. This idea is chillingly illustrated through the Ludovico technique. Readers are confronted with the paradox, a safe society achieved by eliminating freedom. Burgess suggests that societal desire for order may compromise the very humanity it seeks to protect, leaving lasting ethical questions. Fact 14. Classical music contrasts. Alex's love for Beethoven contrasts with his violent tendencies, creating a jarring juxtaposition. Classical music, symbolizing order, beauty, and culture, plays during acts of cruelty, emphasizing the disconnect between aesthetic appreciation and moral action. Burgess uses this contrast to question the nature of refinement and morality. Enjoying beauty does not prevent harm, and human complexity resists simple categorization. The unsettling pairing of art and violence forces readers to confront the contradictions inherent in human behavior. Fact 13. Youth culture depicted. The novel presents a dystopian youth subculture steeped in delinquency, rebellion, and nihilism. Alex and his gang navigate a world of criminal freedom, peer hierarchy, and thrill-seeking, reflecting societal anxieties about adolescent violence. By portraying this world in detail, Burgess emphasizes the social roots of aggression. Violence is not solely an individual trait, but a product of cultural context, peer influence, and societal neglect. Readers are drawn into the complexities of systemic and personal culpability. Fact 12. Government control. The state's intervention through behavioral conditioning highlights the novel's violent critique of authoritarianism. The government's attempt to eradicate crime through coercion is itself a form of moral and physical violence. Burgess's narrative warns that societal control, even with good intentions, can be brutal and dehumanizing. Readers are prompted to consider the ethical limits of power, questioning whether prevention justifies violation of autonomy. Fact 11. Ethical experiments. The Ludovico technique functions as a thought experiment on ethics and violence. It raises questions about whether morality imposed externally is meaningful if internal choice is removed. Through this device, Burgess examines societal desperation to curb crime. The experiment's effectiveness is secondary to its moral implications, forcing readers to grapple with the dangers of manipulating human behavior under the guise of justice. Fact 10. Symbolic weapons. Objects like knives, milk bottles, and chains are symbols of violence throughout the novel. Their recurrence emphasizes the omnipresence of aggression in Alex's environment. These symbols act as narrative tools, illustrating both personal and societal complicity in perpetuating violence. Readers perceive that objects alone do not commit harm. Human choice animates them, reinforcing the novel's central ethical tension. Fact 9. Graphic assaults. Scenes of assault, robbery, and intimidation are presented with detailed narrative care. Burgess balances shock with narrative distance, forcing readers to analyze rather than sensationalize the acts. The careful presentation exposes the mechanics of violence, its social facilitation, and the psychological allure of dominance. Readers are invited to reflect on aggression's complexity rather than merely recoil from it. Fact 8. Psychological trauma. Alex himself experiences trauma, both from his upbringing and state-imposed interventions. This cyclical exposure demonstrates how violence begets suffering across individual and societal levels. Burgess emphasizes that violence is multifaceted, both inflicted and internalized. Readers are challenged to recognize that harm is not unidirectional, and ethical considerations must account for psychological consequences. Fact 7. Social critique. The novel critiques a society that produces violent youth through neglect, inequality, and cultural emptiness. Alex's crimes are symptomatic, not merely personal failings. Burgess illustrates that aggression reflects social conditions. Readers are prompted to analyze systemic responsibility, linking personal violence to broader societal dysfunction. Fact 6. Language as weapon. NADSAT not only conveys youth culture, but frames aggression as normalized. The language softens brutality while highlighting desensitization. By manipulating perception through language, Burgess shows that communication itself can facilitate moral disengagement. Readers confront how vocabulary shapes ethical awareness and emotional response. Fact 5. Moral satire. Burgess satirizes both ultraviolence and overreaching control. The narrative lampoons extremes, criminal impunity, and coercive reform alike. This dual satire underlines the moral complexity of human society. Readers are encouraged to question assumptions about right, wrong, and the effectiveness of punitive measures. Fact 4. Redemption complicated. The novel questions the meaning of redemption. Alex's forced rehabilitation raises the issue of whether change without choice is genuine. Burgess emphasizes that ethical growth requires autonomy. Readers must consider whether moral improvement imposed externally is authentic or merely cosmetic. Fact 3. Dystopian world. The setting reflects societal decay, rampant crime, governmental overreach, and cultural emptiness. Burgess's dystopia magnifies the tension between individual freedom and societal order. This backdrop intensifies narrative violence. Readers recognize that context shapes behavior, and aggression cannot be analyzed in isolation from its environment. Fact 2. Protagonist complexity. Alex is charismatic, articulate, and violent, forcing readers into conflicted empathy. Burgess challenges us to understand, not excuse, moral failings. By presenting a morally ambiguous protagonist, the novel explores human complexity. Readers must navigate empathy, revulsion, and ethical judgment simultaneously. Fact 1. Violence as philosophy. Ultimately, violence in the novel is both literal and philosophical. Burgess interrogates free will, morality, and societal control through acts of aggression and their consequences. This layered approach leaves readers unsettled. The novel's enduring power lies in its ability to combine entertainment, ethical reflection, and dystopian critique, making it as thought-provoking as it is provocative. Closing remarks. A Clockwork, Orange remains one of literature's most challenging explorations of violence, morality, and free will. Burgess forces readers to confront the uncomfortable reality that aggression is intertwined with autonomy, societal structure, and ethical responsibility. Whether you find Alex's world horrifying, fascinating, or philosophically rich, the novel's refusal to offer easy answers is its enduring power. By diving into 20 violent facts about the book, you've glimpsed the layers of language, psychology, and morality that make it unforgettable. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into literature's darkest and most provocative works.